Welcome to Design to Help Your Business Grow. I'm your host, Randy Lynn Johnson, with Pasley Commercial Interiors. So today, Robin, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what I imagine people think of when they think of interior design. The things that make a space comfortable and look good. And, we're going to talk about colors and lighting, comfortable seats, all of that stuff.
So I hear one word that you keep saying, which is comfort.
Okay.
Is that our thread?
Let's make that the thread.
Well, comfort is something everyone wants, right? We don't want to be uncomfortable in a space. Although I have gone to many spaces with really uncomfortable chairs.
Yeah.
So it is a focus a lot of times on a workspace or a gathering space, a hospitality space in an office or a retail or food and beverage location. It is funny that I think there are some spaces that they don't want them to be too comfortable because they want people to move in and out.
Oh, sure.
So there is something to that. But when we want comfort to be, let's say maybe it's part of the brand. They want people to feel comfortable. They want them to feel welcomed and to feel hospitality. Then that is definitely something we're focusing on. There's so many different facets to comfort that, we can address it from many angles, whether it's materials or lighting or the actual furnishings in the space that kind of invite, like soft seating says, you should sit down and stay for a bit. That's where some of those companies are like, no, don't stay for too long.
Is it possible? Because a few minutes ago you said the seats, like you've been in non-comfortable seats. And I know sometimes with commercial furniture, they have to have different coverings on them, fire, all of that. But is it possible to find really comfortable commercial furniture that looks good too?
Yes, I think that's part of our industry that's changed a lot in the last several years. And, going way back, there's even specific designers that have been noteworthy, through the decades because they created very ergonomic seating. But there's been a new word that's been adopted called resumersial, which is trying to bring a mix between residential and commercial furniture specifically. And I think it's even more important now because after COVID, people worked from home for so long. They got used to that soft, sitting on the sofa with a small table to do some of their work or, lounging to do, phone calls and things like that instead of having to sit at a desk. And so I think there is something to that being adopted more and more in the workspace.
Well, when you think about people being comfortable, home is where we are comfortable. So I think the whole idea of resumersial is really smart because we spend a lot of time in commercial spaces. Like we're at work for hours of a day.
We spend more time in our offices than we do with our families at home.
Yeah, which is very sad. That's a topic for another day. We don't cover that in our podcast, but it's important.
Yeah, it is important.
Okay, so we're talking about color, lighting, and seating. Let's unpack seating a little bit more.
Okay.
Me as I'm a business owner or just a random employee, and I'm like, what do I want to look for when trying to decide about what kind of seating I need to have? Like, how do I know what will last and provide the needs?
Yes. Okay, so as a business owner, I would say one of the things that we want to always think about is this furniture suitable for our usage? One of the first things to think about is BIFMA, BIFMA. Is a certification that the furniture can receive by passing all these certain tests.
Okay.
Ergonomics, air quality, health, all of that kind of
Can you define ergonomics for me?
The way the human body interacts with something.
Oh.
So it could be the reach at a shelf or something, the way that our hand grips something, or we naturally... just the way the human body is made, how we'll stand and touch, or, like the fact that all countertops for the most part that we use in a kitchen are 36 inches high. Now, there are very, very tall people who would like them higher, and there are very, very short people who would like them lower. But the average human being ergonomics, 36 is proper for being able to work and do something with your hands while you're standing.
I learned something today. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So, I would say a baseline would be make sure your furniture is BIFMA certified, because then you're ticking a whole bunch of boxes that you're not having to think about.
Yeah.
You just look at that and go, oh, good, this is going to be the right fit. We're not going to be off-gassing. I mean, there's some stuff that you can buy from China that you can open the box and be like, wow, we need to set that one outside for like a week.
Sure. And that, I imagine there's probably legal things that will play into that.
Well,
and
you don't want your
safety
people
standards
going home from the office with a headache from the chair you bought.
But I just mean, like, if it's BIFMA, then it's
then it's all good. Yeah, you're all good.
Yeah.
And you know that ergonomically that's going to be appropriate for your work staff, and it's going to be healthy for them. That's one of the things that BIFMA helps address is health.
Okay. And is that listed? How do you know if something's BIFMA?
It usually will say it. And your furniture dealer, which we are one, would help you know that as well.
Okay. That's great. Really
the other thing for you as a user to think about and a business owner is, what are we using the furniture for? Because that usage will determine the kind of seating or comfort that you need to be addressing. So like lounge furniture, for example, we will want to think of it differently than we will furniture for a break room. Like both of those, we might want it to have a back on it so that we're resting when we're sitting there, but you will want to sit more upright at your lounge, in your break room than you will in your lounge. You'll, have a little more recline. And so then in a lounge, we're going to be thinking more about fabrics and foam and structure to make sure that, it's going to sit long enough. I've seen some low cost furniture that it fit the budget. But as soon as we sat on it, we were like, oh my gosh. Because it was like the block of foam was it was really closed cell foam that was really stiff. And honestly, over time, it was probably going to wear in. But that was how they were maintaining like a structure that for a cheaply made piece of furniture, that's how they were maintaining a structure that would last longer. So better made furniture just has a better base that then they can put a comfort foam inside of. And then, of course, you think about your fabrics and the use for that. Like if it's going to be where we're also going to have a coffee bar and a lounge, you might want to use like a faux leather or some kind of polyurethane or some other kind of, easy to wipe fabric, because you're going to spill coffee on that.
Sure.
If there's children using that space, please use that kind of fabric. There's also really high grades of Krypton and other treatments that are on non-vinyl fabric. So if you want it to be a little more comfortable and have a look and a touch that feels less like vinyl or leather, and maybe be some cost control too, they do treat fabrics, and most companies, even if they're not made that way from the manufacturer, you can have a treatment put on them. See how the list just goes on?
It goes on and on. And that I'm just thinking, I'm like, thank God for you. You know the things. You can help me think through things that I wouldn't even begin to think of.
Yeah.
Because,
So task seating is something else. It's a use, it's a different kind of chair than you would put even as a guest chair at a desk. You would not use the same chair for the guest as you would for the person working behind the desk. Okay. And that has to do with ergonomics as well as just function. When we're typing at a computer, there's the ergonomics for your arms, to be typing on a keyboard.
You can't see this in the podcast world, but Robin is pantomiming typing. Wherever you are, just pretend you're sitting at a desk typing.
You're doing that motion with your hands. Anyways, your need to adjust to the minutia of, what fits your body, your weight, your shape and form is necessary when you're typing, which is totally different than when you're just sitting across the table in a guest chair. So we spend a lot more money on that task chair for the person that's sitting behind the desk, because we want to make sure you're sitting there a long time. We want to make sure that there's all kinds of adjustability for the height and the width of the arms and the tilt and the turn. It just goes on and on again.
Okay. All right.
Break room is another space that we want to address, making sure we have the right kind of seating for that. It is another way to think about that is that, when you have a smaller space and you need to get seating into it, the higher the chair, the more chairs you can get into the space. Because the way the ergonomics of the body work is that when you're sitting at a normal table height, you're taking up more space because your body's folded in half. When you're sitting at a 42-inch height table, which is standing height or bar height, your body is almost, you're sitting, but you're almost at a standing space. So the way you approach the table is different with your body. So you can get a little more seating into a space by using bar height tables.
Interesting.
Or a bar height, built-in tabletop to the wall.
Wow. I never knew. There's science behind all of it. It's so fascinating.
There is. Good. Understanding the human body is part of our job, and knowing why, how it interacts with the furniture that we use with it.
Yeah. Something I would love to talk about is just you just said how it affects our bodies, but I think it also can affect our psyche.
Oh, yes.
And so like that mental, and that is everything. And we're going to talk more about the lighting and colors, but.
Yeah. I mean, well, just think about it. You sit in that chair all day. One of the things that is changing too is, of course, we have all these sit to stand desks. So having an option to get out of a chair is really, really helpful. Another thing that's coming into more and more workspaces, especially where we have lots of shared space, is nap pods. And they're getting really fancy. Wow. It's kind of becoming a little more of an easy thing to get your hands on. If you've got a big shared workspace and you can find a quiet corner to put one of these nap pods in, it's more than seating, obviously. It's kind of like a lounger that has a little shroud built around it. And they actually have some that have massagers in the chairs and heat in the chairs.
According to your budget.
Yeah, totally.
It's like the car, you have like the basic model all the way up to the...
But, just addressing that need for rest during the workday.
That's super good. I always think back to, we give kindergartners naps.
Oh, my gosh.
They don't appreciate it.
They don't.
They need it, but they don't appreciate it. In my workplace, I'm like, I'd love a nap.
I know.
20-minute power nap.
I think the more that we can start to accommodate the human needs, especially because we're meant to go get the job done and go home. But, again, we're spending so much time in that space.
Yeah.
If we could rejuvenate with a little bit of
Let's adopt
10-minute
the
power
European
nap.
model of siesta. Why is that not caught on here?
I know. I think we should, too. Then we'll all need nap pods.
Awesome. In an increasingly competitive market, the merits of using interior design as a strategic growth tool can make all the difference in not just surviving, but thriving.
Hasley Commercial Interiors, designed to help your business grow.